And welcome back, everyone, to Freaky Tales on this Freaky Friday. Welcome, everyone, to episode 35. This is a podcast that I started sometime last year, and we're continuing this year. And I want to thank everybody on the live chat, everybody who's not on the live chat, everybody who's subscribed, everybody who's commented, everybody who's liking, everybody who is a part of this podcast, because if it wasn't for you, we would not be here. So before I introduce my very special guest, I want to make just a few minor announcements that next week we will be back here again. I decided to do this at least twice a month. Okay, I do it because I have to have time for my other podcast and for the filming that I'm doing. So please bear with me. I may change the dates throughout the month, but as of right now, we will also be back next Friday. Okay, because I love Freaky Tales, and I know you guys love it too. So once again, if I have any other announcements, we'll announce them right before we take our intermission break. So without further ado, I would like to introduce none other than Norma Alvarez. Norma, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you're here, because what a lot of people don't know is that you actually have been, how do we say it, either a haunted house hunter. You've give us a little bit of what you have done within the last couple of years.
Well, what I do as a hobby is I go to different locations. I go to some haunted houses, some cemeteries, it just filming locations, and I do videos. Okay, you do videos, and I know we have your TikTok up there so that people can follow you, and people can see exactly where you go and see exactly in detail what is it that where you have visited. Like, just if you can just give us maybe 3, 4, 5 locations that you have visited that they may find intriguing so that they can follow you. Okay, so I've been to the Winchester House that's located in San Jose. It's considered one of the most haunted houses in the U.S. Been to the Whaley House. That's also probably considered the #1 haunted house in America. Wow. And I actually did a ghost and gravesite tour 2 weeks ago, and that was pretty interesting. Okay, we'll get into that, but you've also, if I'm correct, visited like certain, help me out with some of the TikToks that you filmed. So aside from spooky videos, I also do like pop culture stuff. Okay. Like I've gone to the Thriller House where they filmed Michael Jackson. Oh, okay. And the theater when he's walking out in the video. Okay. And I've also gone to, and I've done also like kiddie stuff, like Matilda, that's really popular. Okay. Videos like that, but everything pop culture I really enjoy, and I do those type of videos. I know you're really into like the whole horror thing, because you attend a lot of the Monsterpaloozas. Yes. A lot of the Son of Monsterpalooza, the San Diego Comic Cons. Yes. Yeah. So as I see, you're wearing a Michael Myers shirt, and that's my guy. That's you know. My guy too. And I'm wearing a Jason shirt today. But but before we get into it, you know what? I'm thankful that you're here. I'm thankful that you're sharing. And those of you guys that are on TikTok, I encourage you guys to follow her, because her videos are very, very in-depth in a short amount of time. And that actually gives you the locations where you guys can actually go and check these places out yourself. Before we get into one of the things that I want to talk about, if I'm correct, you started a bit of controversy on TikTok because you shared something about Marilyn Monroe. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. Okay. Did you visit, what was it that you visited, her gravesite? I visited her gravesite and the Brentwood home where she allegedly committed suicide. Okay. And as far as the bit of controversy that I said is because you stated on there, I guess, that her mother was a Latina. She was born in Mexico, correct? Well, her mother was born in Mexico. Okay. And her mother and her grandparents worked there as farmers. So I know it's very controversial, but with that said, she is considered Latina by heritage. By heritage. Yes. So we just want to clearly state that, because I know you got a lot of hate comments. Yes. People were saying that, but that's
that's a whole different other story. So now
everyone's going to have their own opinion, and that's okay.
Okay. So, the Winchester House. What is it exactly that you can fill us in about the Winchester House? Give a little bit of background for the people that may not know what the Winchester House is and where is it located, how long has it been there, etc.
Okay, so the Winchester House has been around since the 1800s.
Okay.
It's located in San Jose, California, and the Winchesters, which is their last name.
Okay.
And Sarah Winchester moved from New Haven, Connecticut once her husband passed away. She moved to San Jose, and she started building staircases that went to nowhere.
Really?
So she built different rooms, and they went on 24/7 to the day that she died. So the way the story goes is that these spirits that were killed by the Winchester rifles come to her and possessed her.
Wow.
And so she would do these drawings when she was possessed, and they were kind of, if you will, the spirits wanted her to build these rooms where supposedly they got shot.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like they were haunting her.
Well, and for once again, for the people that are probably tuning in right now and not sure exactly what you mean by the Winchester, it's a family that actually manufactured rifles.
Yes, correct.
Okay, the Winchester rifle. So the story, from what I understand, is saying that the people that were killed by these rifles,
Yes,
their spirits were coming back and in a sense possessing her or haunting her, or
both.
okay.
Both.
So if I understood you correctly, she started building stairways. Is that what
Stairways to nowhere. So, and she would also build doors. You would open the door and it would be a brick wall. And,
Wow.
or there was this one, because I actually went to the Winchester House and I actually experienced paranormal activity there myself.
Wow.
So if I may elaborate on that.
Yeah.
So I went 2 years ago during COVID. So it was self-guided. It was a self-guided tour. So I went with my good friend and her son. So it was pretty much the three of us walking the entire mansion.
So now, I know you say mansion, but give us a picture. Is this humongous place? It sounds humongous.
Oh, yes. It's enormous.
Wow.
And like I was saying, they kept building and building to the day she died. 24/7.
Wow. And she died, if I'm correct, in the 1800s or sometime after that? Or
Yes.
Okay, so you guys are in this enormous mansion, and you guys are walking around. Did they give you guys anything like to listen, or you guys just looked?
Okay, so since it was self-guided, each room had a recording.
Okay.
And I'd explain to you what each room was. So actually, I prayed before I went in.
Okay.
Because I heard many stories.
Okay.
And so I kept telling myself, okay, try not to get scared, because I've heard that, spirits feed, from fear. And so keep in mind, this house is from the 1800s, so there's no air conditioning.
Right. When it's cold, it's cold. When it's hot, it's
Right.
hot.
So we went in the first room, and immediately I felt coldness. And I was wearing a jacket, and it was hot outside. So once I went in and I felt the coldness, I thought, okay, there's something here.
Right.
And so I didn't say anything. We were listening to the recording. And we went to the next room. We saw the carriage that belonged to Sarah Winchester. That was kind of creepy.
Okay.
Then we went to the next room, and I was talking to one of the employees that was there. And all of a sudden, I turned around, and I don't see my friend. And I asked the employee, did you see my friend? Did you see where she went?
Right.
And he's like, yeah, she went through that door. And I'm like, that little door? He's like, yes. So I don't know if you know, but they made a Winchester movie based on Sarah Winchester's life.
Actually, no.
Yes.
Is that available like through a Netflix, or just YouTube maybe?
I'm sure it's available through Netflix,
Okay.
maybe even Hulu.
Okay, and it's, what's it called again? Do you
It's
know?
called the Winchester House.
Okay, no, that's the name of the film.
Yes.
Okay.
So I actually saw the movie before I went to the house.
Now, did they actually film it on location?
No.
Oh, okay.
But once I went through that room to try to find my friend, immediately you go into this zigzag staircase. It's zigzag, and the reason why it's zigzag and it has like 1-inch stairs, like steps, because Sarah Winchester had arthritis. So in order for her to, lift her legs,
right,
they were really, really like probably less than 1 inch, and it was zigzag. So once I went there, I'm thinking, oh my God, because it took me back to one of the scenes in the movie. In the movie, one of her nephews tries to kill her in that staircase, not in the house, obviously, but and it was dark in there. And so as I'm walking, I'm calling out to my friend and I'm like, just continue talking to me.
Right, you wanted to hear her voice.
Right. So, we tore the house. I'm just going to kind of fast forward to the experiences I had.
Okay.
So I walked into this one room. It was empty. And keep in mind, the whole house was not empty, but there were empty rooms.
Okay.
So I walked into this room, and immediately I felt pressure on my brain, and I felt very nauseous. I felt like someone was compressing. Wow. And then I felt very nauseous. So I looked around, and I told my friend, I'm going to walk out of this room. I'll see you, in the next room. Right. So I walked out, and I did start to feel better. And I go into the next room. Each room did have different temperatures.
Really?
Yes. Some rooms I felt coldness. Some rooms I didn't, it was just room temperature. So we're walking around, and it's a really nice house, and it was, there's pretty advanced for its time. Okay.
So in other words, their architecture was ahead of its time.
Yes.
For being back then.
Yeah, and they were rich.
Yeah.
Probably the richest people in San Jose at that time.
Okay, now let's just make that clear. San Jose, California.
Yes, Northern California.
Okay.
So we're towards the end of the tour. We go into the grand ballroom. The grand ballroom is a pretty big room. And I go to the middle, and I'm like looking around, taking it all in. My friend and her son are off to the side, looking inside a safe where Sarah Winchester kept, personal belongings. I'm standing there, and I'm holding my purse, and I'm looking around, and all of a sudden, I feel something go like this to my leg. And it felt like a human hand.
Like what you say, like around your thigh or your knee area?
On the side of my knee.
Wow.
So I feel it, and I'm like, I'm looking around, and no one is near me. So I said, okay, something touched me, but I'm not going to let it scare me. Wow. It felt like a human hand touched me. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I didn't say anything. We walked out, we toured the gardens, and we left. And then we spoke about our experience. And the reason why I didn't want to tell my friends, because I felt if I tell her, she's going to tease me, because I kind of told her in the beginning that I was a little scared. Right. But yeah, that was my experience. Okay. And many people have stated that they have experienced paranormal. In one of my videos, 2 women said that they've had their hair pulled. Really? Mm-hmm. Now, were these women, from what you know, were they together, or these are 2 separate accounts? No, 2 separate women that do not know each other. Wow. So once again, legend has it that the people that were killed by these rifles were told that they came back to haunt her, or maybe possibly haunt the house. Yes, and the movie, if people care to watch it, it's loosely based, on the house and her movie, but it kind of gives you a glimpse. Okay, so if you decide to go, it might be good to actually watch the movie. Yes. Okay. Definitely. And now let me ask you, for those that may be interested in going, do you have to make reservations? Can you just show up, or how does that work? So when I went, I made reservations, but keep in mind, it was when COVID was high, but it was limited capacity also. So it was a little scary, but like I say, I was trying not to let fear take over. But you can actually book online if you want to go. They even have night tours with flashlights. Oh, wow. See, I would want to do that. Yeah, I would not want to do that. See, I would want to do that. See, that kind of stuff, it really, really excites me. I really, really like that kind of stuff, because you know what? I grew up with that kind of stuff. You grew up with that kind of stuff. But to actually
experience it.
Right.
It's a little different. A lot of times, I think we say we want to see something, we want to feel something, we want to hear something. And when we do, it could change your life, because you may just say it's the supernatural is real. These, whatever we want to call them, whether entities or energy or shadow people, these things are real, So, I know you said that you were speaking to an employee that worked there.
Yes.
Did he share anything with you as far as maybe possible stories that people might have shared with them when they toured?
So that particular employee did not.
Okay.
But we were in another room, and it was a female employee. And I was talking with her, and she said that she has experienced paranormal there, and that the ghost spirits actually know her by her name. How true that is, I don't know, but that's what she told us.
Right, yeah. And I'm glad you said how true that is, because we just don't know. Some people, they just like the attention and say, you know what, I witnessed, they know me or whatever. And some people that experience that, they don't want to be known. They don't want to be touched, But.
And as much as I love, the whole spookiness of it, I am a skeptic. I will admit that.
Really?
I am a skeptic. And when I felt something touched me, I felt it, and I knew it was real. But at the same time, I'm thinking, nah. Do you get me?
Yeah.
But something definitely touched me.
Now, let me ask you this. From your experience and from what you heard, could you say that place is haunted?
I say anything is possible.
Okay, fair enough. So this place is considered number 2? You said haunted?
So, yes. The Winchester House and the Whaley House are probably the 2 most haunted houses in the United States.
Okay, so we talked about the Winchester House. Now let's talk about the Whaley House. And where is this located? So
the Whaley House is located in Old Town San Diego.
Okay.
And it's right in the middle of restaurants and where it's happening in Old Town San Diego.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, and is this again, for those that may not know, is this another big, enormous house? Or?
So, from what I read, and it has been documented by the Travel Channel.
Okay.
And people may beg to differ, obviously, but that one is considered probably the number 1 most haunted house in America.
Really?
And actually went there 2 weeks ago.
Okay, now, you hear, and it's been documented by the Travel Channel, that is probably or most likely the number 1 haunted house in America. What would intrigue you to go? Okay.
So my younger sister was celebrating her birthday.
Okay.
And she says, I want to do a ghost and gravesite tour. Let's go. And then I said, are you sure you want to do that? She said yes. So I'm like, okay. So I wanted to accompany her and make her birthday special. And she's really into that also. So we went. And honestly, it's more of history about deceased. It's good history.
Right.
It wasn't really scary to me.
Okay.
But it was interesting. I'm glad I went. I would recommend it. But I would just say don't expect to be scared, honestly. It's more history.
Okay. Now, I guess what has happened there that people would consider it the most haunted house in America?
Okay, so before the Whaley House was built, it was a gallows. So if people don't know what the gallows is where people would get hung back in the day, like in the 1800s.
Okay.
So kind of like the Green Mile.
Okay, so there was a lot of killing, a lot of
hangings.
A lot of hangings, yeah.
Yes. And the Whaley House was built on those grounds.
Oh.
And what's interesting is Thomas Whaley, before he built that house and purchased the property, he stood and witnessed a hanging of a gentleman named Yankee. Maybe people may not call him gentleman because he was a thief, but his name was Yankee Jim, if I remember correctly. Yankee Jim. Yankee Jim back then was 6'4". Keep in mind, this is like 1800s, so a lot of people were not that tall. So when they hung him, when he was standing on something, right? So when they kicked it so he can hang and break his neck, he was so tall that he was able to tiptoe on the ground, kind of like holding himself up.
Yeah.
And he actually was there in torture for 20 minutes before he died.
Wow.
Because he was on his tippy toes.
Yeah.
And Thomas Whaley was there witnessing it. So they say that Yankee Jim is one of the spirits that haunt the Whaley house. So he purchased the land and built a family home for his family.
Who would do that?
Thomas Whaley.
Wow. You know, and many times I've heard of places that many people say these houses are haunted, and then we find out that they were built over old cemeteries.
Oh, I have a story for you.
You know, I wouldn't want to live there. Okay, so is this just one home or?
Okay, so it's a fairly large home for the 1800s.
Okay.
So this house, when he built a family home, he built also a general store that's attached to it. He also, so he built the house. It had a general store, it had a courthouse, it had a theater, a small theater upstairs, and it was the first commercial theater in the whole San Diego.
Oh, wow.
And at the Whaley House.
And it's still standing?
It's still standing. Yes.
Wow. Now, would you see a movie there at night?
No. Well, it's actually like a play theater.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so people actually perform there?
Yes.
Okay.
So remember that movie Tombstone
Yes.
at the Cage Theater? Actually, I've been there
Yes.
because I love Tombstone. It's one of my favorite movies. It's kind of like that, but it's in a tiny room, and it's pretty cool.
Okay. See, this is what gets me, okay? That this place is considered, once again, the most haunted place, you know, and documented by the Travel Channel in all of America, but yet they have theater.
They have a theater in there, yes. They kept a lot of like court records there. And the reason why it's haunted, you keep in mind, it was the grounds for the gallows.
Right.
And when we did the tour, our guide told us that there's 13 entities that haunt that house. 13 entities. I didn't feel anything when we were there.
Did you even get like the creeps or anything
No,
like that?
I didn't.
So you experienced that more at the Winchester home?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's funny because I've always heard that the Whaley House is like the number one, haunted house in America. And I wasn't scared. I thought it was weird also because I never wanted to go. My brother used to ask, "Hey, let's go to the Whaley House." No, I don't want to go.
Right.
But it was interesting. It was really interesting. Our guide did say that she's had her hair pulled before. And she was even telling us, say a prayer. Like, really, I mean it.
Really?
She said that when she had her hair pulled, she was so scared that she consulted with a medium. And that the medium just told her, just pray.
Wow.
Just pray, yeah.
Wow. Well,
Another interesting fact about the Whaley House is, the gallows, where they had like the hanging,
Yeah.
it's actually inside the house where they have like the archway. That's where I don't know what you would call that, where they would hang the people.
Yeah.
It stood there in the archway.
They still had one?
No, they didn't have it there, but what I'm saying is
Oh,
the way it was designed.
Okay, that's where it stood.
Yes, and he had a daughter, Thomas Whaley, that committed suicide.
Wow.
With his pistol. And one of his sons also died. They just experienced so much tragedy living in that home.
Now, if you had to elaborate a little bit, I know we're not experts in this, we're just sharing our stories and our experiences.
Yes.
That's what makes Freaky Tales interesting. Why do you think they experienced so much in that home? Share your opinion.
The family?
Yeah. Why do you think they suffered so much? Do you believe it was because it goes back to where they built their home?
I think it definitely has something to do with that, in my opinion.
Right.
Other than that, I honestly, I don't know why. Because everyone experiences different things in the same location. I read, and I'm not an expert in this, but I did read that a lot of spirits and ghosts, if you will, only allow certain people to see them or experience different things.
I've heard that, yes.
So I don't know. The only conclusion that I have is that they build their home where a lot of people lost their lives, tragically lost their lives.
Yeah. Now, that opens the door for people people may say, nope, I don't believe that. Okay, I understand that. We're just sharing our opinions on what was told to us and what has been documented. But now, I've always been a skeptic, okay? Because I like proof, I like evidence, okay? There's people that say there's a heaven and there's a hell when you die. Heaven or hell. There's other people that would say there is a purgatory where it's like a holding tank, I guess, into...
Kind of limbo?
I guess like in limbo. Then there's people that say there are people that have died and don't want to depart just yet. It's almost like they don't know they're dead in a sense, or they just like wandering. I don't know what to believe when it comes to all that.
Same.
But I will say this, that stuff that you experienced being touched, the stuff that you've heard that families have experienced in certain homes, that goes worldwide. People experience that worldwide. So there has to be something supernatural that we cannot see. And it's going on all over the world. And that's why we share these, if you will, freaky tales.
Right.
Because you've gotten touched at one home, another person got their hair pulled. My thing is this, you're not going to get anything from lying.
Right.
Okay? So my thing is this, like, what is that? What was that?
I don't know. And I guess I really don't want to know, to be honest with you. Because I do hear a lot of other people's experiences, paranormal experiences. And I think to myself, wow, that's pretty crazy, right?
Right.
But I don't ever want to experience it. But I did kind of experience it. I had another experience, which we can elaborate later.
Yeah.
And I have had experiences, but you know what? Sometimes I feel that a lot of times too, like if you don't believe, that's when they kind of manifest to you, if you will.
Yeah, because, how many...
Kind of prove you wrong.
Yeah, because how many, like, ghost hunters episodes have we seen and they never catch anything?
Right.
They never do. They'll get a noise, and they'll just implement it in the editing and say, look, it kicked a can. I don't believe any of that, especially now being a director and editing myself. I know what, if you will, what a good editor can do to make you believe that footage they're showing you is haunted.
Right.
Unless I experience it in person, I'm not going to believe what I see on TV.
Well, our technology is far in advance now also. So really, you don't know what to believe.
Yes. Again, unless you experience it.
Correct.
Now, me personally, I wouldn't want to go somewhere and experience somebody touch me or slap me or sock me in my back.
Right.
I don't want that. But there's something there there's something that intrigues all of us, the people in the live chat, the people that have subscribed, the people that watch these type of paranormal shows. There's something there that intrigues us. And many times I think we want to see, we want to experience. But when it does happen, it can scare the living hell out of you, where it can literally change your whole life.
I think for some, yes. When I experienced it, I have tremendous faith in the Lord.
Right.
And so I also know that if you allow fear to take over, from what I've heard, that, these evil spirits feed off your fear.
Yeah.
So when I felt something touch my leg, I stood my ground.
Right.
And I didn't let it scare me. But I know something touched me.
Right.
I don't know what it was.
Right.
It couldn't have been a good thing, a good whatever it was.
Right.
I don't know.
A lot of times, a lot of people may say maybe it's just bad energy. Some people believe in good energy. Do you believe that when people release such negative or bad energy, do you believe that can come back to a person?
Definitely. I do believe that.
Okay.
And if I can touch on one story.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I've experienced seeing the Grim Reaper.
I want to save that one.
You want to say that one? Okay.
I want to save that one. Okay. The reason why I bring up the negative energy is this. Is it possible that whatever was done in the Whaley house property before, I guess, they built a home, is it possible all the negativity that was done there, all the wrong, all the killings, all the hangings, that is just coming back to whoever's there?
I mean, in my personal opinion, because we're not experts.
Of course.
I would say probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion. I don't think we really know.
Right.
But it has to come from somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has to come from somewhere. Not far from there's another little cemetery.
Okay, share with us.
Okay, so on our tour, we went to this other cemetery, which is walking distance from the Whaley house. Our tour guide told us that cemetery has a lot of paranormal activity, like a lot of paranormal activity. And a lot of people go and try to have seances there. They go there with their Ouija boards.
They're looking for it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And so what's a trip is the cemetery went out to the street. So you have San Diego Boulevard, and on the sidewalk, there's markers, and on the street where people are buried. So the cemetery was a large cemetery, obviously, right? So they shrunk it.
Yeah.
But you still have people buried. But the reason why they made it smaller so they can make a street, make the sidewalk. But the trippy part about it is you have your little cemetery. Here's a cemetery. Here's a restaurant touching the cemetery grounds. Okay? The cemetery, and you're sitting here, and then there's a window where you just kind of like look, and you're looking at the cemetery. You see tombstones.
Wow.
And also, there's people sitting outside, like in the patio, so they're eating above people that are buried there.
See,
It's pretty crazy. That's why I was saying it's more like history. It's actually pretty cool.
Okay, now, and for those people that may be wanting to go after they heard your experience of attending there, do you reserve again, or do you just show up, or how does it work to get a tour?
I believe you could do both. We purchased ours online, but when we were there, we did see people purchasing tickets there. But our trolley, because you go on a really cool trolley, it was pretty packed. So I would recommend maybe booking online.
Okay, so
and it's like $30 plus, if I recall correctly.
Now the Whaley house itself, was that a huge home?
I guess for back in the day, yes.
Okay, but it also had a theater, you said?
Yes, upstairs.
Okay.
And it was in a little room.
Oh, upstairs in the house?
Yes.
Okay, and what else did you say was attached to it that they can see?
A general store.
Okay.
A general store which caught on fire. Like I was saying, they experienced a lot of tragedy in that house.
Yeah.
So there was a general store, there was a courtroom, there was a theater, and like I mentioned earlier, the theater was the first commercial theater, not a movie theater, a play theater of San Diego. It was the first one.
Okay. And then is the cemetery also a part of the tour as well?
Yes.
Wow. Now, are there night tours for those?
Our tour was at night.
And you didn't feel nothing even at night?
I didn't feel anything. But maybe because I psyched myself, like, okay, I'm going to go. I'm not going to allow anything to scare me. Okay, so one of the other locations we went to was a park in San Diego. So we go to this park, and at the end of the park, they have 100 tombstones. And our tour guide, said, oh, this is a memorial. So she did discuss 3 people that the tombstones belonged to, but there were over 100. So we were there listening, and she's like, okay, well, let's walk over to this side. So we walk over in the middle of the park, and she pointed out that we can see the city from the park. We can see the night lights. It was dark. We had lanterns. That was really cool. We're walking around with lanterns, and she was kind of giving us a history. And said, everyone that's here in the park, you guys are standing above coffins, people that are buried here. And I'm like, what? She's like, yes, this park was once a cemetery. And I'm like, oh my gosh. She's like, kids come and have their soccer matches here. There was like a kids' jungle gym, you know, people come have picnics. And I'm thinking, wow, I will never see another park the same.
Wow.
Yeah. So she said, and there's an elementary school right next door.
Wow.
So that park was a cemetery. And she said back in the day, they did put an ad in the newspaper, really tiny ad in the newspaper, letting people know, hey, if you have a loved one buried here, you have 60 days to come and move them. She said the ad was so tiny in the back. She's like, guess how many people came and moved their loved ones? She's like, hardly any.
Wow.
She's like, so yeah, the people are still buried underneath this, you know,
they can
the
never,
grass.
yeah, and they can never go visit them again.
I mean, you can probably go there, but you're
not going to know.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Now, how long does this tour usually last?
It was about 2 hours, approximately 2 hours.
Okay. Okay. Now, there's something that I want to touch on really quick, unless you have anything else you want to share on the Whaley House.
So the Whaley House, I just thought that it was pretty crazy that Thomas Whaley purchased a property and wanted to build. You know, keep in mind, this was in the 1800s, so you have all this land. And people can actually go online and Google it. You'll see that when the house was built, it was just kind of like dirt fields. But why that location?
Right.
Right?
Right. Look how much negativity came out of there. It
Yeah.
costed even his daughter's life. Yeah.
And one more thing, if people want to book that tour, and I'm not promoting it because I'm not getting paid for that or anything like that, but it's pretty cool. Our tour guide, she was kind of dressed like in the 1800s.
Uh-huh.
She painted her face kind of like a dead ghost, if you will.
Okay.
And our driver, she kept calling him Wyatt Earp. So I thought it was pretty cool because it reminded me of Tombstone.
Okay.
But no, it was very, it was actually educational.
Good.
It was good.
Good. Okay, you know what? On one of your TikToks, if I'm correct, there's a movie that came out directed by Clint Eastwood, if I'm correct.
Yes.
And it was called The Changeling?
Changeling.
The Changeling with Angelina Jolie.
Starring Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, okay. And supposedly, if I'm correct, was that a true story somewhat?
Yes. So the movie Changeling was loosely based on the chicken coop murders.
Okay.
So the chicken coop murders took place in Mariloma, California, which is located in the Inland Empire. Back then, the city, or I don't know if you would call it a city because it's kind of like the suburbs, but it was Wineville. It was called Wineville.
Okay.
Now they changed it because of the tragedies that occurred. It's called Mariloma or Jurupa Valley because they keep changing it. But so that movie was loosely based on the chicken coop murders. So, yeah, I actually did a TikTok on that house because that house still stands. And I actually had the pleasure of interviewing one of the residents there.
Now, did this guy actually live in that house or?
So on that property, you have the main house.
Okay.
And people will argue with you because they say, oh, the house was actually torn down and they rebuilt it. In my personal opinion, it's the same house based on the research that I did. And they built another house behind it where the chicken coops were. So there's now like a duplex, if you will.
Now, when you say chicken coops, is this where this, if you will, this murderer kept the kids?
He would actually come to LA, kidnap them. It's really sad. He would take them back and he would rape them, torture them, and then kill them and bury them there on the property.
Wow. Yeah, that's...
And so when I went, again, I took my friend that I took to the Winchester house with me because I didn't want to go by myself. So when I got there, there's a lot of trees that are kind of covering the house. So I thought to myself, okay, well, how am I going to do a video? You can't really see the house, right?
Right.
And then they have a gate around it now. So, you know, I was kind of like walking around trying to find good angles. And this car pulls up and my friend's like, oh, we got to go. And I'm like, no, I'm going to talk to this guy. So I walk up to him and I asked him, do you live here? He said, yes. And I said, do you know the story? He said, yes. And so we started talking and he started kind of telling me, you know, the history that he knows. So I asked him, can I videotape you? And he's like, for what? So I was honest, and I said, well, I want to do a TikTok video.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, that's fine. He's like, but I'm going to speak in Spanish. So I said, it's okay, I can translate. So I have him on camera. I did a 3-part TikTok on it, and when I posted it, it was a big hit. Honestly,
Yeah,
this is a true story.
Well, because it was interesting, and it's sad what happened there, you know, and yeah.
He says he experiences paranormal activity there, and his son also.
Really.
He rents out the back house from the people that live in the front house, and he told me a lot of people come here, especially during Halloween. The man that lives in the front house doesn't like when people come here. And I asked him, okay, do you think it'd be okay if I go beyond the gates? I want to go in and do a video. And he's like, well, you can't go in the house. I'm like, okay, I don't want to go in the house, but I just kind of the premises, but I want to go beyond the gate.
Right.
And he's like, well, you know, the owner kind of gets upset. And he says, I'm going to pull in. I'm going to leave the gate open. He goes, I do have a remote. He's like, go in, but it's on you if he says anything to you, right? And I said, okay. He's like, just wave me down when you're done and I'll close the gate. So I did just that. I went in and I did video, and then I kind of waved him down. And actually I told him about Freaky Tales. And I asked him if he wanted to come, and, you know, but, so yeah, I went in, I did video, I did a 3-part TikTok video on it.
Did he say how long he was living there?
I didn't ask him that. I didn't ask him how long he's been living there, but he did say he wanted to move. Okay,
and him and his son have experienced some activity there. Yeah, see, and it's one thing that I'm getting is that from the Winchester house, from the Whaley house, and how this
Chicken Coop Murder House?
Chicken Coop Murder House, all people have been murdered at these houses, and then everyone has experienced something. So it's obviously something from the other side, or something lingering, something still there, that's people are witnessing and experiencing these paranormal activity things. See, to me, if somebody told me, yeah, this house is nice, you can get it for $100,000. Yeah, it's humongous. Why so cheap? Oh, the whole family was massacred here. Bye.
I wouldn't buy it.
I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't buy it. A lot of times, I think we compromise, and without even having any regard for the implicate. What is the word that I'm looking for? Because it's cheap, we may just say, hey, let me just move here, and not even realizing what are the possibilities, what could happen, what could you experience?
Right.
You know, like you said, the Whaley house, this man's daughter committed suicide with his gun. Is it linked possibly to what was there before? We never know, but it sure does look like it, you know. So
it was she was depressed, and actually she committed suicide from a broken heart.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's another sad story. Okay, now, one thing that I want to touch on before we go to intermission break. As a matter of fact, me and you and some other family members went to go visit a friend of ours who was incarcerated at the LA County Jail.
Yes.
Okay. And if I'm correct, was this the 90s?
It was...
it had to be
early 90s because... This murder happened in 1989.
And we walk in. Let me share my story, and then you can share yours, okay? I remember walking in, looking to the left, and everybody was told go to the right. And I saw, I saw a lady with a nice, it looked like a nice mink coat, possibly, or it was a white coat. She looked, if you will, very rich. Her hair was blonde, it was done up, nice rings, but she was an older woman. And then they walk out, this dude, they sit him down, and I remember I looked, and I kept looking, I kept telling people, look who that is, look who that is. And I remember when he had the phone, he looked at me and he went like, and I tripped out that my eyes met with a murderer.
Right.
Okay. And that was one of the Menendez brothers.
Yes.
Okay. You want to share what they did for the people that may not know exactly who the Menendez brothers is? Because obviously we have a new generation now that was born, 1999. The millennial kids that are probably watching don't know who the Menendez. Share a little bit about that.
Okay. So the Menendez brothers were from Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Well, they lived in Beverly Hills, but they were really from Princeton, New Jersey. And they moved from New Jersey to Beverly Hills. The father was Cuban American, and he was in the entertainment industry. And these two brothers, they ended up killing, like brutally killing their parents. And the reason why they killed their parents was because they claimed that their father sexually abused them as children, up until I think teenagers, one of them.
Right.
So they ended up getting arrested. They ended up getting arrested because one of the brothers actually confessed to his therapist.
Yes.
And so my story, because I was there with you also,
Right.
this was LA County, if I remember correctly. We walked in, and if people have never visited anyone in LA County, so you're walking in, and it's like aisles, right, where people are going to sit down to speak with the person that's incarcerated, and it's all glass, so you can kind of see people.
Yeah.
And so I remember walking in, same thing, it was to the left. I saw them both sitting down, and I locked eyes with them also. And I remembered them. As soon as I saw them, instantly, I'm like, oh my God, that's the Menendez brothers.
Yeah.
Because it was huge.
Yeah.
It was huge. This happened in 1989.
And keep in mind, this is before the world of social media, and look how big it was.
It was all over the news.
You know, let me just give another picture, and you guys can Google this, look it up. We didn't have Google then. You guys can Google this now. The two brothers actually walked in with shotguns, right?
Yes.
And I believe their mother and father were on the couch, and they were watching TV, and they just went in front of them and just started blasting them with shotguns. They went outside, they reloaded again, they came back and shot again. At least that's what we received from, if you will, it's public knowledge. You can look this up. And then they call.
Well, no.
Okay.
So I actually went to the house not long ago.
That I didn't know.
Yeah. So I actually have a TikTok on my TikTok page.
Okay.
I did a video on it. So what happened is they brutally murdered their parents. They went to Santa Monica Pier. They actually went to the movie theater, and I believe they saw the movie Batman. And they went to go eat, like so nonchalant. They went about their business, and then they came home, and then I don't recall which brother called the cops and says, oh, we just got home, and our parents are brutally murdered.
Right.
And actually, they got away with her for quite some time until they went on shopping sprees.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before, I believe it was Eric that confessed.
Yeah.
Because he was going to therapy, and he just couldn't take it anymore, and he confessed to his therapist. And you know, therapists, they do have to keep things confidential, but when it's regarding a crime, they have to take it to the police. And did you know that it wasn't actually the therapist that turned them in? It was the therapist's mistress. That was his secretary.
Really?
That called the cops.
Wow. You know, but if you ask me, this is just me. These guys claim that their dad was molesting them, okay? So they kill him. They lie, call the cops, and say somebody brutally murdered our mother and father. They pretty much are given everything. Like, you know, everything that's their father's, now they have. And these so-called molested kids go on shopping sprees. I mean, is that what a innocent person who has been molested does?
I don't know. I've never been in that situation, but
I mean, you think about it, because they killed them, they make the phone call, they think they got away, and they go on shopping sprees.
Yeah.
I mean, who?
I honestly, I don't know. Again, this is my opinion, but the thing that I can think of is, if that did happen to them, and one of the reasons why I feel they killed the mother is because the mother did know that the father was molesting them, and she did nothing.
Okay.
And that's from my research.
Right.
But I'm thinking, okay, if they didn't care and they went on shopping sprees and they went about their business, it just kind of makes me think, like, maybe it did happen. And maybe that's why they didn't feel anything and they didn't care. Because
Possibly.
they were abused, you know, for many, many years.
Now, one thing I don't know, and I think it'll be wise to look up, was there ever any proof or any evidence of that in court?
So when they went to court, they did interview cousins, family members, that went, on stand and stated that, we were told certain things by, the brothers, that the father was doing certain things to them. Could it have been premeditated? Who knows?
Right. Now, what about the therapist? Did he ever take the stand? Do you know of?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sure he did.
Yeah, because you know what? Because they were convicted, both of them.
Oh, they're still, yeah.
And the thing is, obviously, if they were convicted, there was never any possible proof of that, of them. But who knows now? But to brutally murder your parents like that, and to me, I think what makes it hard to believe that these things actually took place is because, again, like you said, I've never been in that situation, but to automatically go on a shopping spree, I know people that have been victims of those things and they still can't talk about it. It hurts them to talk about it. And, you look at a certain person's behavior and you can kind of tell. So, wow. So
I went to the house.
Okay.
I didn't go inside the house, but I went outside the house. And it's in Beverly Hills. I have to say, because I knew the story, and I was really young when that happened, and you still kind of hear about them, because you'd be surprised. Actually, these young kids, they do know about them, because a lot of people actually did TikToks on them. And I went to the house, and I was walking on the sidewalk, and I felt such heaviness. Very heaviness on my chest. Yeah. And because I saw photos, the parents being wheeled out.
Yeah.
And it was crazy to be there.
Yeah. And I believe, sad to say, you could still see photos online.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it was a brutal, brutal murder. And again, from what they were saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, because what I read was online and what I heard on the news back then, that not only did they shoot him, but they also went outside, came back in, reloaded, and shot him again. Did you hear anything like that?
I'm not certain about that,
okay.
But I know they shot the father in the head.
Yeah.
So they really had it out for the father.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes
only they know what really happened. That made him commit that crime, kill their parents.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute intermission break. And when we come back, we'll eventually get to the phone calls. Okay. So you're going to see, when you see the number on the screen, it's going to be first come, first serve. We'll answer your phone call. Share your story. Please try to keep it under 2 minutes, please. Because many times some people want to have conversations. They want to ask questions. If it's something pertaining to what we shared, ask. If you just want to share a story that might have happened to you, a family member, a cousin, or a friend, or whatever, whatever story you share, please try to keep it under 2 minutes and be considerate that other people want to call in as well and share their stories. So when we come back, I want to touch a little bit on the Green Reaper, and there's other things that I want to touch on. But for meanwhile, your TikTok is on the screen. People can go and actually, and they can't go to these locations, that can actually view them on your TikTok.
Yes.
Okay, everybody. So once again, 5-minute intermission break, and we'll be back on Freaky Tales podcast on this Freaky Friday. And I welcome back everyone to Freaky Tales Podcast on this Freaky Friday with my special guest. And I hope you guys do tune in and check out her TikTok and everything she's talking about. She's been there. Some of you guys may be able to go there. Some of you guys may not. But you can actually view it there on her TikTok. And I know a lot of people don't like to drive because it does require a lot of driving.
Yes. But
just to give a quick recap for those of you that are probably just barely tuning in, we talked about the Winchester House in San Jose, California, okay? And we talked about the Whaley House in San Diego. And those two are considered, if I'm correct, the two most haunted, if you will, houses in all of America.
Yes, documented.
Yeah, the Whaley House has been documented by the Travel Channel as being the most haunted or the number one.
Actually, there outside the house, it says the most haunted house in America.
Okay. We also talked about the Menendez house in Beverly Hills, the Menendez brothers. Okay, and we actually seen them together. Okay, we touched a little bit up on the Chicken Coop murder house in Mariloma. What was it called before?
Wineville.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. So they must. Did they ever? Not that it matters, but did they ever give a count of how many kids were murdered or missing that they if you will accused them of?
Not that I recall. But the thing is that the street that the house is on, it's called Wineville, the street name.
Oh, okay. All right.
But now the area, it can either go by Mariloma or Jurupa Valley.
Jurupa Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How far is that from here?
It's about 50 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay. There's a couple of other places that you shared with me where you went to go visit, and we're not saying that these places are haunted, but murders happen here, okay? And one of them is, and I'm glad you're here to talk about it because nobody really ever touches on it. I wish they would. I don't know if they ever made a movie about it, but I wish they would. Marvin Gaye. You've gone to Marvin Gaye's house where he was murdered by his father.
Yes, correct. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people do not know that his father killed him, shot and killed him.
Wow. Did you ever do any research on what took place, on why he shot him?
So the father, there's so many stories that I've read because I have done research on it. So the father, his name was Marvin Gaye Sr., and so Marvin Gaye Jr., the father did get upset because their last name was actually spelled Gay. And so Marvin Gaye Jr. added the E to it. So, when you're in the industry, they kind of tweak your name, if you will. So the father was a drunk. Marvin Gaye Sr. was a drunk. Marvin Gaye Jr. did drugs. He also drank. Well, the day that he got murdered, the father was having some type of altercation with the mother. So Marvin Gaye Jr. went in and, like any good son would defend their mother. And he got in an altercation with his father, and the father went to his room, grabbed the gun that Marvin Gaye Jr. purchased for his father for Christmas, and shot him in the chest and killed him. And here's the trippy part. The father did no jail time because the judge said that it was in self-defense.
Really?
Yes. So he did no jail time.
Now, okay, we all know who Marvin Gaye is, an amazing, blessed, gifted singer.
Yes.
We know that. We don't take that away from him. I mean, the guy's amazing. Is it true he was living with the mother and the father?
That was his house. And he died one day before his birthday, his 45th birthday, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so this was his house and the parents were living with him.
Yes. But they were living there because you got to remember he was always on tour.
Right. Okay.
And the house still stands. It's a beautiful home. It needs just a little TLC, but it's in the West Adams neighborhood in Los Angeles. It's a beautiful house.
Wow. And you also documented this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's probably my most popular video.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, out of all my videos, it's the most viewed and most liked.
There's another one that you actually went to go visit it. This is in Miami. This is the mansion of Versace.
Gianni Versace.
Okay, what made you? I mean, everybody in the world knows who Versace is.
Yes.
Okay. Did you just happen to be there in Miami, or did you go there specifically for that, or since you were there, let's just go look?
So it was during obviously COVID, because we've been going through this for 2 years plus now.
Yeah.
And when COVID kind of let up a little bit, my sister and I, we took a trip to Miami, and I've always wanted to have dinner at the Versace mansion, because I've always, you can have dinner there. It's a hotel now.
Oh, okay.
And so what was great about it is that because everything was at limited capacity, we were able just to go there and have dinner. Very good food, by the way. But Gianni Versace was actually murdered on his steps right outside his mansion by a stalker. And they made a movie about it. You can probably maybe view it on Netflix.
I think it was on Netflix, because wasn't Ricky Martin like his lover in the movie? Okay. Yeah. Wow. And it was just a stalker that just...
Yeah, he was probably, I would say, maybe, I don't know, how many people do you have to kill to become a serial killer? Because he killed several people.
Yeah.
And so this guy, Andrew Cunanan was his name. And he was from San Diego.
Wow.
Andrew Cunanan. He always wanted to be, in the limelight.
The glitz and the glamour.
Yes, and always dated older men.
Wow.
Wanted like sugar daddies. And he did, and this is based on the movie.
Okay.
He met Gianni Versace at a party, I believe it was in New York, and he just went kind of like started dating and had sugar daddies and murdered them. And he just went to Miami and decided to kill Gianni Versace right outside his mansion.
Was there ever any motive given?
There was none, honestly, that I recall, because he killed himself. And he didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, see, that part I didn't know.
Yeah.
Wow, what a freaky story.
Yeah. But I didn't feel anything when I was there.
Right.
But it's a cool place to go have dinner if you're ever in Miami.
I don't think I want to go where somebody was killed.
It was outside the steps.
Let me tell you guys a freaky tale, okay? I want to say this was in the late 90s. And for those of you guys that live in the harbor area, I want to say this is Carson, possibly going into Torrance, maybe. It was off of Sepulveda, and there was a restaurant. Do you remember it was called The Grinder?
I do not.
Okay. It was off of Sepulveda. It was going towards, we're going towards the Lama Mall. And if you're coming from Carson and you're on Sepulveda, it'll be on your right-hand side.
Was it near that San Franciscans?
No, way before.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And there's a place called Grinder, and me and a friend used to go eat there. Mm-hmm. We actually worked together in the late 90s when I used to work with Violet Brown in the warehouse. Mm-hmm. And this guy's name was Kenny, good guy. And on our days off, we used to go have breakfast together. I'm a book reader, so I would take a book. He would take a book, and many times we would just stay there for an hour and a half. And we would read and eat. Sometimes we wouldn't even talk. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, let me read something to you. So we would share things like that. Well, one day he calls me up and he tells me, hey, man, you want to go to Grinders? Let's go get something to eat. And they always had good food there. So I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to make it today. I just feel like relaxing today. I put in a lot of hours because I was working at times like 14, 15 hours a day. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go. I said, you sure? Yeah, I'm going to go. All right. A couple of days later, I read in the newspaper that there was a group of guys that went in there. I think they said it was 2. They went in there, closed the doors, and he just started shooting everybody in there.
I think I heard about that.
Yeah. The waitress, they grabbed her, they raped her, they killed her. Like, it was just, like, if you will, a mass murder there. You guys look it up. I want to say it was in the city of Carson or possibly going into Torrance barely.
Didn't that happen at a Denny's also?
That I don't remember, but this was Grinder. Mm-hmm. So when I heard about that, keep in mind, I had him into work. It was the weekend. We used to go on a Friday. So I'm calling this guy Kenny up, and he's not answering, and he had told me he was going that day. I guess on Monday I showed up to work, and the first thing that I did, I went to his office. Right. He had his own cubicle, and he was there, but he hadn't heard about it.
Really?
Yeah, he hadn't heard about it.
So he didn't go?
No, because I worked from Monday through Thursday. I had to put in 60 hours within 4 days so I can get 3 days off.
Wow.
So I would, me and him on Fridays, we would go eat. And then we wouldn't see each other till Monday. So I told him, showed him the newspaper, look, man, remember that waitress? Yeah, they were all killed. Every single one of them. Now I think there's a CVS there. I think that's what's there.
Oh, okay. I know where that is.
Yeah. It used to be a restaurant called The Grinder. And they just shut it down because everybody there was killed. And it's sad that has to take place, but there's been a lot of places, stuff where, for an example, I'll give you another freaky tale. Down PCH, right before you go to Rolling Hills, the theater, there's a 7-Eleven to your left. You go into PCH, you pass Burrito Jr., 7-Eleven.
Yes.
Okay. This is in the 80s.
By Pacific Video?
No, Pacific Video is right here in Wilmington.
There was another place, yeah.
So this was, I want to say, Lomita, almost entering Rolling Hills area.
I know where it is,
So I pull up, and I remember something telling me, and this is all I heard, leave. Okay? Just leave. I heard it one time, but it's so weird because it's like not an audible voice. It's almost like something that you hear and feel.
Like an inside voice type?
Yes.
I had that experience before.
So I said, okay. So I just backed up.
Yeah.
Took off, okay? You could tell I'm old because I went like this, reverse. So I leave. So I'm at the movies. Maybe I look at the movie and I'm thinking it's going to be an hour. So I go get something to eat around there. It's about an hour. They say the movie is about 3 hours long. I just said, forget it. I'm just going to go back home. So now I'm thinking, and I remember exactly what I wanted to get. I wanted to get a Gatorade. I said, I'll just stop somewhere and get a Gatorade. When I come back, there's yellow tape all over the place. Somebody had been killed.
Wow.
Okay, so I've had plenty of those experiences. There's been times where
close encounters.
Yes, close encounters where I've had friends. We've been hanging out. Somebody comes by and buys dope. You know, we're talking about 80s, and I'm hanging out with all my homies. And hey man, you know, I want to buy a 20. I want to buy this. I want to buy that. It's okay, cool. I'm sitting there, and I just feel like you need to get out of here. So I told one of my boys, let's get out of here. Now at this point we were really, really drunk. It was late at night. So we said, all right, cool. We take off. When we get to the corner, I remember my friend was so drunk that he had to put it in park at a stop sign just so he can catch his breath because he was so drunk. And I was like, come on, let's go, man, let's go. And he goes, okay, hold on. He said, but I'll probably have to stop a couple of more blocks. No problem. We left. The next day, one of my buddies comes to visit me and says, the moment that you guys left, he goes, I saw you guys stop. You guys were there for about a couple of minutes, and then you guys made a right. A car pulled up and sprayed us all. There was 3 guys that got killed that day.
Wow.
Okay, and honestly, I've always known that God has always kept his hand upon me, you know, so, but I
think both you and I have really strong intuition. Like, I have very strong intuition where, honestly, I do feel like I have a real gift.
I believe that too. I don't like to share that because for people that may not understand that, they can look at you weird, you know. There's been times where I've been sitting with friends and I'm talking to them and all of a sudden, and I really want to say, did you guys feel that or see that? But I don't want to freak them out, and I keep turning around. And I remember I told this one person, I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and leave. So why? Because I think there's something standing right behind me.
Yeah.
You know, like, for reals? So I usually try to keep that to myself. Like, I shared here that on my other podcast, that there was one guest that when they came in, I saw a tall shadow follow them in.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, and believe me, people were hitting me up. Is it a girl? Is it a guy? They were throwing names at me. I will never say.
But what did it look like?
A silhouette, like something like this.
Really?
Yeah, just a silhouette.
Oh my God, that gives me the chills.
Yeah, and the moment that I saw him walk in, I could say him, I could say her, I would have thrown everybody off, but I would never say who it was. So this person walks in, and it was, the weird part about it is that this person just didn't walk in. This person actually peeked in, and he goes, hey, what's up? I said, come on in, man. And I saw her right behind him, walking right behind him.
The whole time that you
were? The whole time. Yeah, interviewing. Now I even say hers because I don't want nobody to guess who it is.
This person.
Yeah, this person.
I have a quick story.
Okay.
So I have a friend.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've known this friend for maybe 8 years. And we go out all the time. Mm-hmm. And so every time, I go to hug my friend, he always smells like cigarettes. He doesn't smoke. He's a professional athlete.
Okay.
So, you have to be drug-free.
Right.
Because you get tested. And I always ask him, like, dude, did you smoke? He's like, no, I don't smoke. And I'm like, but you smell like smoke. Like, every time you smell like smoke. And I know he don't smoke.
Right, right.
And they say supposedly when you smell smoke, or cigarettes, they say it's a spirit that's around or attached to you.
I've heard something similar to that, yes.
Well, let me tell you. One day, he told me, and this was actually before, let me backtrack, because when I first met him, he didn't smell like cigarettes. I started smelling these cigarettes when he told me one time, I see a shadow, every time I visit my parents, I see a black shadow in their kitchen. And this was before I really knew anything about shadows, because I have learned a lot on Freaky Tales when I watch.
Okay.
So I think it's educational. But he told me, oh, I see a shadow in my parents' kitchen. But I didn't really know what that meant. And then I asked him, I said, well, do you see it here? He was at my house. And I said, do you see it here? He's like, no, I don't see it here. And I'm like, okay. So then I kind of like wrote it off. After that, that's when I started smelling cigarettes. And so he says, well, maybe it's my cologne. And then I'm like, okay, well, maybe next time I see you, don't wear that cologne. Right?
Okay.
So he went out and bought a new cologne, sent me a picture. I'm going to wear this cologne next time I see you. So I saw him recently, and I'm like, you still smell like cigarettes.
Wow.
And I told him, I said, I'm not trying to scare you, but
right.
They say, when you smell cigarettes,
right.
There's a spirit or something there. And he's like, well, you're kind of scaring me. Well, I'm not trying to scare you. I said, but maybe something's attached to you. I go, it's not scaring me.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if people have experienced that, give us a call and we can talk about it. But I have another experience where I have smelled cigarettes at the cemetery. In West Hollywood, because I do TikToks on famous people that have been deceased. So I go, like when I went to the Marilyn Monroe, I went to Hugh Hefner, and there's one cemetery, there's a lot of famous people buried there, and it's not the Hollywood cemetery, the forever one. Remember the little girl, Heather O'Rourke from Poltergeist?
From Poltergeist, yes.
Yes. So the little girl, she died at a young age. I believe she was maybe 12, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, blondish hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, she's in a crypt. And a crypt is, for those that don't know, when they're buried in the wall.
Oh.
So we came across him. I was with my niece, and there was no one else around. It was just us. And I'm like, oh, look, Heather O'Rourke. So we walked to it, and we smelled cigarettes, like if someone was standing there smoking, like between us.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around, and I asked my niece, do you smell this? She's like, yeah. So she gets closer to Heather O'Rourke's crypt. She's like, it's coming from here. Well, I don't know if you know, but there's a lot of stories that surround that little girl and the cast of that film, Poltergeist. Mm-hmm. And, okay, so they say that the cast has been cursed after making that movie.
I've heard stories like that, too. I mean, a lot of times we just think that they're Hollywood stories, but we don't know.
Well, I read that the little girl was actually a sacrifice among the Hollywood elite.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Right?
Those are just what we hear.
But the other daughter that was in the film was brutally murdered also by her boyfriend at the time.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I think she was, I don't know, she was like late teens maybe? Because she was young when she made that movie also.
Wow.
Yeah, he strangled her.
So the little girl, the little blonde girl in the movie, she's the one that says they're back.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, she died. She was in Webster. Remember Webster?
Yeah. Did they ever say what she died of?
Supposedly she had like some type of disease.
Okay.
But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. And according to that movie, that house was built over a grave sites, correct?
In the film, yeah.
Yeah, in the film. Okay. Okay.
And by the way, the house is located in Simi Valley.
Really?
It's on my list to go. But they say supposedly that there where they filmed the movie, that house is cursed.
Okay. One other thing, I know you've gone to visit the catacombs. Okay, can you tell people where that's at and fill us in a little bit about what exactly is the catacombs and...
Okay, so the catacombs, I've been to the ones in Paris, France, and London, England. The ones in Paris, so a catacombs is pretty much an underground cemetery.
Okay.
So it's an underground cemetery, and so what that is, you don't see coffins down there. You see bones, stacks and stacks of bones, and miles. So the catacombs in Paris, there's 600 human remains. 6 million human remains. So you're walking down, so you go underground, and it's miles and miles, but I think it's only like 3, maybe 2.5, 3 miles that it's open to the public. So you're just walking.
So it's longer than...
Oh yeah, they're tunnels, underground tunnels, and there's cemeteries. And so you're walking in, you walk in, and it's just stacks and stacks of bones and skulls.
And you okay, since I've never been there, I'm just asking, so...
You can touch them too.
Wow.
My sister was touching them.
Really?
Yes. And some bones, some skulls are even shaped like hearts. They're on my TikTok if you guys want to go see it. I have a video.
Wow.
But the ones that freaked me out was the one in London.
Why? What was that? Why was that one different from the one in England?
Because, okay, so I went to the London one first, and I was younger. And I really didn't know what it was at the time. And I went on my honeymoon, and so we were like, oh, let's go to the catacombs. I'm like, oh, okay, it's something new, right? I didn't really know what it was. So when we walked in, I'm like, why are there a bunch of skulls here, right?
Right.
That one freaked me out because, I wouldn't even call it walls, like dirt walls. There's like slits where I guess people were kind of like put in there, like little slits in the wall. And then the tunnels, they were a lot more narrow, and I felt uneasy in there. Like I felt something was there. It freaked me out. Like it really freaked me out. Wow. But there were more human remains at the one in Paris.
Now here's my thing, because obviously when we have a loved one that passes away, friend, cousin, neighbor, whatever, here we bury them.
Right.
Okay. Where did all those bones come from that people just throw them in there?
Cemeteries.
So cemeteries, but we're going to need this property?
Kind of like that park I was telling you about. Yeah, people back in the day, people would go and dig them out and then just put them there in catacombs.
Wow.
Imagine having that job.
Yeah. Okay. Before we start taking some phone calls, I know you had mentioned to me, because I'm going to be honest with you, when you shared this story to me of what you experienced, I found it very hard to believe, but I've never known you as a liar. So I knew there was something to it. It's just because maybe I never experienced it. Maybe that's why it sounds unbelievable, and you have to be understanding of that a lot of times some people are just not going to believe, because really you saw that. So
I get it.
I guess kind of work up to it. How did it lead up to this experience that you're about to share with us?
Okay, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So earlier on, we were talking about energy. You were asking, do you think bad energy can, bring spirits around you, or, make you experience things? So, one day, I was bickering with my ex at the time. We were bickering and we were not getting along.
Right.
And we went to bed, and I was asleep, and I woke up, and to my left, I saw the Grim Reaper on the side of my bed. And mind you, like, we had blacked out windows.
Okay, wait. Back up again. What did you say?
Okay, the Grim Reaper was on my left side of my bed. My room was pitch black, but I was still able to see the black Grim Reaper. And I don't know what you call it, stick he holds, but
right.
Very tall, and just it looked just like what you would see, like if you were to Google the Grim Reaper.
Okay, so now the reason why I asked you, were you falling asleep? Did you just wake up?
I was asleep, and I don't recall what woke me up, but I woke up and I looked over, and it was standing like right here, and I thought, oh my God, like either I'm dead or he's here to collect me, right? That was my first thought.
Right.
So I looked, and it was just standing like right here next to my bed. And I closed my eyes and opened my eyes, and it was gone. I wasn't dreaming. Like, I promise you I was not dreaming. So I woke up my ex, and I was so scared, and I told him what I saw, and it even scared him.
Really?
Yes. And so we turned on the lights, and so we fell asleep. But going back, I believe that maybe all the bickering and the turmoil that we were going through, I think it was probably bad energy or something.
Right.
Because I'm still here.
Right. Okay, so.
But it was really tall. It was black, and my room was black.
So it was darker than the darkness in your room.
Yes.
No, I've seen stuff like that.
And it looked like, like the cloak or whatever it is that it wears is just draping, just like, if you were to Google a picture,
right.
It's just like that.
So, okay. So you're asleep. You're sleeping on the left side of the bed, and then you don't recall what wakes you up. But when you wake up, you look up, and it's there. Mm-hmm. And how long would you say, was it second, 2, 3, 4 seconds that you just kept your eyes open before you closed them again?
Maybe 2 seconds, 2 long seconds, like 1, 2.
But you know for a fact what you saw?
Oh, I know, yeah, 1,000%.
Did you ever see that again?
No.
Okay. I'm going to share this with you because I know we spoke on the phone, and we kind of talked about it. You said, I didn't experience that, but there was another individual that was living with you guys at the time that you guys were helping. And I know he was sleeping in one room because you guys had upstairs and downstairs, okay? And I remember this individual called me, and he tells me, man, I hear weird stuff, he says, in this house, and he would use that, I think it's their, I think it's their negativity because they're always arguing, It might have been around the same time. But he said he was in his room and he heard steps. He said, now keep in mind, I know they were out, I'm the only one home, and it's dark. And I heard steps. He said, but not just steps, I actually even heard keys. Like if they had their keys tied to their belt or something. He goes, and I'm scared, and I'm thinking, okay, it's so-and-so, he's home. I open the door, turn on the light, and there's nobody coming up the stairs. He said, but I've heard that several times. He said, you know what? I'm not trying to scare you, man. I'm not trying to sound all, superstitious. He said, I don't get anything by lying, saying that I heard, somebody walking up the steps. I believe him because this was around the time that you had told me that this has happened to you. So, again, that's another freaky tale that goes on unexplained.
Yeah, he used to always tell me, your house is haunted, and I would be like, no, it's not. But I had a closet under the stairs, and he would always say, oh, that's a scary closet, and it was a walk-in closet under the stairs. You can put, use it as storage, and he would always say that's a scary closet, but I would always go there. I always felt safe in my house, just that one time that I saw the Grim Reaper, but I've never heard anything. But he would say, I'm experiencing these things.
So he wouldn't share that with you?
He would say, your house is haunted.
Okay, but did he ever explain?
Not in detail.
Okay, yeah, that was one of the ones that he had told me about. That he, it was mostly the stairs, And he goes, I don't know if it was trying to go into my room or her room. He goes, I don't know. He goes, man, it's just so much negativity here because they're always arguing. And so can that attract negative energy to dwell there? I believe so.
Many people say yes.
Let me just give you one example. And this was told to me by another older individual that came from, if you will, a family that suffered much turmoil, okay? He told me, whenever you go to somebody's house, he should, sit down, make yourself, hello, how you doing? Be respectful. He was always sharing. I was a young guy. I was maybe 21, 22, and he taught me how to be respectable to people. Make sure you shake everybody's hand. When you shake somebody's hand, repeat their name. That way you don't forget their name.
Right.
So he instilled a lot of those things in me. But I went to a friend's house, and I remember his brother was always arguing with him, even when I was there. It's almost like I was non-existent, and he didn't matter. He would cuss at him. He would tell him off. He was, when the hell you been? Why you wearing my jacket? I said, why you got my cologne on? You better pay me back. And they were just going back and forth. The dad walks out of the room just in his underwear. His hair's all messed up. He opens the refrigerator and starts drinking his tall can. The mom starts to yell at him because of the way he's dressed and there's company there. And they're arguing and they're fighting. And I noticed that the brother and my friend are arguing. The mom and dad are arguing. The sister comes in and starts yelling at everybody. And for one moment, I just observed everything and I said, there's no peace here.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no peace here. And I believe when homes are like that, my opinion, I think sometimes they have welcomed that negative energy that takes away their peace and just brings nothing but negativity. For an example, there are people that you can hang around with, and you could be full of joy. Today's a great day. Man, I can't wait to go to the beach. I'm going to work out today. I'm going to do this. And then there's some people you meet, and you're like, man, if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have luck at all, man. Why are you always so happy? Yeah, the stuff that I'm freaking going through right now, if you were going through it, you wouldn't be able to. And everything is negative, negative, negative. All they do is talk negative about people. They can see people happy, and then just talk negative. They can see a brother or a sister happy, and they'll talk negative. Somebody could be winning, doing good, and something in their heart tells them, hate that. They just talk negative. I have cut myself off from people like that.
Me too.
You have to. If you're ever going to have peace in your life, you have to cut those off. This man told me this last story, and then we'll take some phone calls. He was one time pruning some roses, and he said, these little things, he said, they're called suckers.
Okay.
That's what he said. And I said, suckers? He goes, yeah, you have to learn how to prune these. And I said, why is that? He goes, because they suck all the nutrients off the plant, off the stem, off the rose. If you don't, they'll never bloom. And he said, do you understand what I'm saying?
You can apply it to life.
You got to apply it to life. If you don't cut them off, you will never bloom. You will never flourish, because they will suck everything out of you.
I know in previous episodes you mentioned, I always wake up happy. I'm always happy.
Yes.
I'm the same way. I know a lot of people find that hard to believe. And a lot of people go through things, and I feel for them. A lot of people do go through depression, and some people can't help it.
Right, I understand.
And I understand that. But for those that can help it, I feel like life is all about perspective. It really is. And I'm not trying to preach here or, trying to give any motivational speech, but I truly believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that life is what you make it.
Yes. I truly believe that as well. I'm trying to turn on my Bluetooth here. No, it truly is, because I've had people that have lied about me, have just said negative stuff about me, but you know what? I still manage to wake up happy.
Right.
You know
what I do? When I go home,
yes,
I always pray over myself before I go into my house, and I pray, over my threshold.
Yes.
To make sure that I don't bring any bad energy to my house.
Yes.
I rarely have visitors, but when I do have visitors, I pray over my house before they come into my house. Sometimes even if I hug them, I pray for them as I'm hugging them. Yes.
It's very important who you allow to come through your front door, okay? Because you never know what they may be bringing.
Exactly.
And a lot of times we could be nice and we could be generous, and a lot of times those people won't see you as a nice and generous person. They'll see you as possibly a weak person. And that's where you have to use wisdom on who you bless with your time, who you bless with your energy, who you bless with your money or whatever, or just with your presence. But if there are people that are in your life that are, some of them could be family members,
Oh, yeah.
you know, that are sucking the life out of you. You have to learn to cut them off. Now, people say, you know what, Tony, that's mean. No, it's not mean. You have to do it for your peace and don't feel guilty about it.
It's true.
You know, and the thing is, it isn't that you hate them. It's just that you just have to separate yourself. You know,
even certain family members can bring your spirits down.
Absolutely.
You know, it could be any little thing that could be negative, and there's times, I'll admit there's certain family members that I just don't want to be around.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's that negative energy that they carry. There are some people, sad to say, I've met that are young, and that negative energy is just so, if I can use this word, so powerful with them. It's almost like they know what they're doing is wrong, and it doesn't matter, I'm going to do it anyways.
I do believe also,
Alex, you could put the number up, please.
this may be a popular, opinion, unpopular opinion, but I think a lot of people that act that way are just miserable in life. They're not happy in life. And that's where that statement, misery loves company, comes into play. And I truly do believe that, because if someone is not happy, they're not going to be happy for you. They're not going to have a good day.
Right. Yeah. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and take some phone calls. Alex, did you put that number up? Okay, he's putting it up right now. If you're going to make a phone call, please, if you got something that you want to elaborate on, something we shared already, if there's something that you want to share, I'm encouraging you guys, please keep it under 2 minutes, because I would hate to cut you off, because we got about 18 minutes and I want to try to get everybody's stories in. Within 18 minutes, we can get several calls. So let's see. Okay, here we go. We got one right here. Okay. Hello. Welcome to Freaky Tales. Who's this?
I can't hear.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Alex, can you turn up the headphone?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, bro? I'm calling from Escondido, California, North County, San Diego.
Okay, Escondido, California. Okay.
Escondido, California, North County, San Diego. Yeah. So I'm glad that y'all back, man. So look, I was in like a little bar area in Temecula over there.
Yes.
One of these weekends, and I walked in, and right away I made contact with this like this woman, right? That was there like at the bar too, and me and her just kind of like made eye contact right away. It was kind of like weird and everything, but I felt like something, and then eventually she followed me to the bathroom, like an hour in me being in the bar, and she told me, she's like, hey, ya te perdono. And back in the day, I was kind of into like some Western type stuff, you know.
Yes.
So, and then she's like, hey, but that girl that you're with, she loves you, so love her back. And then I was like, that's my homegirl. She's like, it don't matter, like love her back. And so yeah, then she just left, and after that, I did not see her again at the bar. She just like almost just left or disappeared with her, you know.
Okay, so
this
was just a woman that came up to you like, out of nowhere.
Before I go, I was coming home.
You know what? Can you turn down your TV, bro? Can you turn on your TV?
Yeah, man.
There's a feedback.
Random lady at the bar.
I don't think they can hear us.
Alex, are we up? Are our mics up?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead. Finish, please.
Yeah, so the lady that at the bar, she was just random, and then this other story too. I was coming home from a night out, and then so my whole house was dark, you know. So I had to go to the back of the house and knock to the windows, my dad's window, my brother's window, so they could open the door for me. And then as I'm going to the back of my house, I turn the corner, and I see this old older lady like in an older white dress just like walk from the other neighbor's gate into my window, and like I'm just shocked, shocked, and like right away I knew there was ghosts and everything. So I mean, I seen ghosts before and everything, so I wasn't really that scared and everything. So and then I go back to the front of the house. I try to open up the door. Nobody answers the door for me, so I'm like, fuck. So I jump in my window fast as hell, jump in, fall to the ground, just cover myself up and fall asleep, man. And that's like no lie, man. It's kind of weird and stuff, but I just been seeing stuff like that. I mean,
okay.
Hey, but I love your show, Tony. I'll keep at it, and Ms. Alvarez, cool little thing you have going on TikTok too.
Thank you.
Keep it up and keep the Freaky Tales vibe going on.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Thank you for calling. Have a blessed night, and thank you for being a part of the show. We appreciate you calling in.
Thank you.
Okay. I hate to cut you off. Yes. Okay, cool, Alex, because we was hearing a little bit of feedback. We got another phone call right here. Hello? Caller?
Hi, Tony.
Hello, how you doing? Sound familiar?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. I'm so glad I got through. I actually tried to call and couldn't get through. I'm calling from Santa Maria, and I just wanted to say that almost everything you guys were talking about I was resonating with, especially when you were talking about, cutting people off. This last December, I made the decision to cut off my own mom. And it was probably the hardest thing I ever did.
Yes.
But I have to be honest, like my life and my happiness and my peace has been so much better since I did that.
Yes.
So I just wanted to say, I totally resonated that. I'm a very intuitive person myself, and I'm actually always a happy person. But the thing that really got my attention was when your guest was talking about the Grim Reaper.
Yes.
So I don't see things, but I had moved. I was living in San Jose for a while because I had went there for college, which I finished. But when I was living there, I was renting a room because rent is very expensive over there.
Yes.
So I was living in a house with like a total of 12 people, so 12 other renters. And so it just seemed like ever since I had moved into this house, into the room, I was on the very bottom floor. There was 3 floors. And so one day I was sleeping. I was dreaming. But you know how when you dream, you feel like you're awake?
Yes.
No, you feel like it didn't feel like a dream. Well, I know the difference between dreaming and when you're awake. The problem was this one night I was dreaming, but then I woke up and I really did come to from my dream, and I swear that I saw the Grim Reaper, and I couldn't see his face. I don't know, it just scared me, but he was in black, but I couldn't see his face. It was just black. And he had his hand over me. And at that time, there wasn't anything I was doing. I'm actually a really good person. So It just seems like, sometimes, I don't know, things happen or you attract things or as you know, negative or things are attracted to light, right?
Yes.
Because they want to tear down light. So anyway, in that room, I was sleeping and the Grim Reaper had his hand over my chest. And I couldn't breathe. I kept trying to, I told myself, wake up, but I was awake. But I couldn't move and I couldn't breathe. I was paralyzed.
Wow.
And I just, that dream has never, it's never left my, because like I said, I feel like I went from a dreaming state to I woke up, but I just couldn't move. Yeah. I couldn't breathe. So it's weird. In that house, in that room, there was just a series of things going on. One day I had to evacuate because it started raining in my room. So there was just like different things happening. Well, I find out through one of the other tenants that had been living there for 10 years, said that a prostitute was killed in that room. Wow. And once I got a better room and I moved out, it actually made sense, because I didn't find that out until towards the end of my rental agreement.
Yes.
So
wow.
That's crazy.
A lot of those weird things that I was experiencing was like pretty bizarre. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
To be told something like that.
Yes. Well, we want to thank you for calling in and sharing that with us. I greatly appreciate you tuning in. And you know what? I want to say this. Many times we do have to cut some certain people off for our peace. And I just encourage you, don't feel guilty about it, because I've had to do it to people that I consider some family and close friends. And it isn't that we have anything against them, but it's for our peace, our, if you will, our sound mind. So many times we could just love them from afar, but I just can't be around you anymore. So we want to thank you once again for calling in. Have a blessed night, and next week we'll be back on. Okay, we got another caller. Let's see. Callers, anybody want to give the call? We want to thank both of the two callers that have called in. Okay, somebody's here. Okay, hello? Hello?
Hello? Hey.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you guys a little question. Are you guys familiar with the Baphomet?
Yes, I'm somewhat familiar with it. I know what it represents. I don't know too much about it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was going to say, it's basically like a demon, a particular demon.
Right.
And I've seen this demon in person twice.
Really?
So, yeah, the first time, you could say maybe it was dark, but these particular shadows at my work early in the morning, there was like just, you could see like its silhouette, like sitting there, starts moving, and then he takes off as I approach him. So the second time I seen him, same type of silhouette, but this time it was in broad daylight, and it was flying in the sky, just like, it was almost like dangling with the wind, but flying because you could see its wings.
Yes, yes.
And this was just something I wanted to share with you guys because, there's been mentions of seeing things, and you guys aren't the only ones. We're all. There's people out there that see it. I think. Yes. I believe it.
Now, for the people that may not know exactly what the Baphomet is, many times that symbol of the goat is used in a satanic pentagram. Is that what the one you were referring to?
Yes.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, where were you calling from?
Santa Maria, California.
Okay, Santa Maria. Thank you for calling and sharing that with us. We greatly appreciate you being a part of the show. Thank you for taking the time. Yes, and have a blessed night. Bye-bye. Okay, we got a couple more minutes for a couple more callers. You enjoying these?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm tripping out.
Okay. Hello, welcome to Freaky Tales.
Hey, what's up, Tony? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hey, what's up? I'm calling from Bakersfield, California.
Bakersfield, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, I know time's running out. I want to tell you a quick story, man.
Yes.
Okay, so it goes with what you guys been talking about, bad energy and stuff. So I work at a rest area in Lebec, and I maintain two rest areas. It's one on the northbound side and one on the southbound side. And I worked with one other coworker, and there was one period of time where we were just going through some difficult shit, dude. There was a lot of tension between us because we had some problems and stuff. So usually we work 2 people per side, but since we were having these problems, we decided, hey, you work one side and I work the other side, and that's how it was.
Yes.
And so we drive one company van, and I drop him off to the southbound side, and there's no way he can get to the northbound side without me picking him up. So I'm doing the northbound side, dude, and I have my AirPods on. I'm listening to music. I finish all the restrooms, and I get to the very last women's restroom, getting ready to clean it or whatever. And I say, janitorial services, is there anybody in this restroom? And I hear a lady say, I'm in here. So I'm like, okay, I'll wait a minute. I'll wait 5 minutes. I'll wait 10 minutes. It gets to half an hour and I'm still waiting. And I'm like, what the heck? Let me check if she's okay. So I go in there and I say, excuse me, miss, are you okay? And I get no response.
Wow.
And I'm like, what the heck? The whole time I was right there waiting, for this person to leave the restroom. My eyes were right at the entrance, so there's no way she could have left or anything. So there's that. And that very same night, dude, and let me tell you, the rest area where I work at is supposedly, it's over an Indian reservation. So this guy, this coworker I had beef with, I'm finishing up a restroom, that creepy women's restroom, that shit just happened to me, whatever. So as I'm leaving, I see him, the coworker that I'm beefing with, I see him around the corner and he's giggling. He starts giggling and he laughs and he just takes off. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, what? How'd you get here, dude? There's no way you can get to this side of the rest area,
Right.
So whatever. I'm like, whatever. This was playing some kind of joke on me.
Right.
I go back to pick him up because he's doing the other side of the freeway, those restrooms. And I tell him, dude, I know we're beefing and shit, but what the fuck? Why are you tripping like this? And he has no idea what I'm talking about, dude.
Wow.
It might have not been him.
So yeah, very much so. He just giggled. He didn't say a word. I called him out. Nothing. He just giggled and whatever. So, but yeah, that's my quick story that I wanted to tell Tony. I know time's running out, but I wanted to give a quick shout out also to Sergio Exe and Santa Maria, California in the house too.
Thank you, man. Thank you for calling and being a part of the show. Thank you for your time. Have a blessed night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have time at least for one more call. So we'll take one more phone call. That's why I encourage everyone to keep it under 2 minutes. I know a lot of times people want to conversate and they want to share because they have a lot to share. And I get that. But many times people are waiting to make that phone call. So let's be a little bit considerate. This is the last phone call. Hello?
Hey, what's up, Tony?
Yes, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good.
What do you want to share with us?
All right. First, my name is Andrew. I'm from West Long Beach, but I'm right here working in South Central LA. And I don't really want to share anything. I just want to ask 2 quick questions.
Okay.
Because, one's for Miss Alvarez. When you go visit these scary places, do you bring anything home with you, or is it like all in your mindset?
No, I've never brought anything home. As I said earlier, when I know I'm going to go to a place that I know is haunted, I pray over myself. And I truly believe that I'm covered, with the armor of God when I go to these places. And also, as I go home, as I mentioned also, I pray over my threshold before I go into my house. And I pray over myself before I go into my house. And I also say, if there's anything that followed me home or is attached to me, you are not welcome in my home. And I do that before I go into my house. But you have to believe.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You had another question?
Yeah. And then, Tony, hey, have you been updating the Freaky Tale podcast?
You know what? Here's the thing. And so I'm going to give everybody an update. I had one individual that was actually doing all the uploading all the podcasts from my other podcasts and uploading them for Freaky Tales on Spotify's, iHeart, and all the other major platforms. What happened was he had went on vacation. He took long on coming back. When he finally came back, he said, I no longer want to work for Roading Radio. I want to do my own thing. So I have yet to find someone that can actually help me do that part of the podcast. So if there's anybody out there that wants to possibly work as an intern and help me load up these things, these episodes to back on Spotify where people can enjoy them once again, because not everybody wants to watch YouTube. People work. People just want to listen to them, download them, etc. I'm willing to talk. And you can email me at freakytalespodcast@gmail.com, freakytalespodcast@gmail.com, or you can message me Freaky Tales Podcast on Instagram. So yes, I did have somebody that was uploading them on my Rolling Radio podcast and on my Freaky Tales, but he ended up getting a job, ended up doing his own thing now, so now I don't have anybody.
Yeah, that's how life is usually.
Yes. So thank you, man. Thank you for calling and being a part of the show and taking the time. So we greatly appreciate it.
All right, you too, man.
Okay, you have a blessed night. And
you guys take care.
You too. Thank you.
And that was our last caller. Let me unplug this. So at this time, we could take off the headphones. And let me ask you, how did you enjoy Freaky Tales Podcast?
I liked it a lot.
Okay, great. Any shout outs, anything you want to say before we leave? Anything I didn't ask you, anything you want to share? Is there another story?
I have so many stories. Maybe we can come back.
Okay. Just a couple of announcements. Next Friday, I will be here. We're going to start doing Freaky Tales at least twice a month. They may be back to back, or they may be every other week. When I say back to back, meaning they may be both Fridays in a row during the month, or every other Friday during the month. But we will have 2 Freaky Tales every month. So next week, I'm hoping this gentleman will confirm. I have a paranormal investigator that has several books out, like several books. And hopefully he confirms, and he's been doing this for many, many years. The last time I talked to him, he was at a location filming. I believe he was doing like a documentary. Mm-hmm. So, and this is what he does. So hopefully he can come and share with us his paranormal. He actually told me, he goes, I'll confirm with you by Monday, and then I will send you all the topics that we can talk about, and you just choose. I said, no problem. So next Friday we will be here. So make sure you guys save some popcorn, and when you get home from work, take a shower and get ready. Tell the old lady to cook you something, or if not, warm up some top ramen and enjoy the show. Other than that, I would give a shout out to my son Beast Scanless for helping me promote this. Anthony the Hip Hop Jedi, also Alex Cervantes Enterprise, and also Norbert for a new member of the team. So once again, thank you everybody. You guys made Freaky Tales possible. I want to thank everybody that called, people that were in the live chat, and those that didn't care to be in the live chat but were watching. We are only here because you guys have made this possible. So once again, encourage everyone to like, subscribe, comment, and share this. And we'll see you here next week. So once again, expect the unexpected on this Freaky Tales Podcast, Freaky Friday. Thank you once again.
Thank you.